I tell all my clients and patients, you have to believe in your ability to heal or it's never going to happen. So having that positive mindset, and this is not toxic positivity, this is really that innate belief that your body is powerful and that you can heal.
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Houghton. And today we're joined by Dr. Kela Smith, a holistic fertility and hormone doctor who's board certified in natural medicine and functional nutrition. She's the founder of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a global health platform helping women and couples naturally balance hormones, optimize fertility, and achieve happy, healthy pregnancies. After overcoming her own infertility using her signature hormone puzzle method, Dr. Kela turned her personal journey into a mission, empowering others to solve their own fertility puzzles through a mind-body-spirit approach that integrates root cause medicine with science, nutrition, lifestyle, and emotional healing. She's also the creator of the Hormone Puzzle Society Educational Institute, which is an accredited certification program that's training the next generation of fertility and hormone coaches. As the host of the Hormone Puzzle podcast, she interviews top experts in women's health, hormones, and fertility to inspire women everywhere to take control of their health naturally. In today's conversation, we're talking about how the puzzle method approach to fertility is really a whole health approach to healing and longevity, whether the goal is a healthy pregnancy, reversing autoimmune symptoms, or living your best life for as long as possible. Dr. Kela, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Julie. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited for this conversation, and you are helping so many people. And we were discussing before I hit record that, the approach to optimize fertility is the approach to optimize health. Like, it's the same, you have to be considering the same thing. So would you share with listeners your journey of, how did you get into this fertility world?
Sure. So this started out of my own personal struggle with infertility, as I'm sure many people in this space have experienced. And I got married and thought getting pregnant would be fairly easy. That's what I was taught my entire life. But I realized very quickly that that wasn't going to be the case for me. So I started with my conventional doctor. I wasn't in the medical space at that time. And so I went to my conventional doctor and told her we were trying to get pregnant. And she ran a bunch of tests and we got the diagnosis of unexplained infertility. And then on the other side of that, she said, but you're 36 and you're advanced maternal age, and I recommend that you do IUI, and if that doesn't work, we'll do IVF. And I thought, wait a minute, you just told me there's nothing medically wrong with me. Why do I have to do a medical procedure to force my body to do what it was made to do naturally? And so I left that office determined to figure out what was causing this issue and how I could heal. And so that led me down just a rabbit hole of research and trying to figure out what was causing this. And I ended up figuring it out. So once I figured it out, I was able to heal and optimize. And I got pregnant not once, but twice. Had my second baby at 40. And with a newborn and a 2-year-old, I said, I have to teach this. So I went back to school.
And you look 32, so I don't know how. I'm like, wait, she wasn't even in the medical field at 36?
I'm almost 50. Can you believe?
That's amazing.
I will be 49 in March. So I am closer than 30. Holistic living. So
wow. Amazing.
So I had my 2 boys, went back to school, ended up with a PhD and started my company in 2018. And now I work with women and couples all over the world who are struggling with infertility, and I help them heal and optimize so their body can do what it was made to do naturally.
Amazing. And what such a gift. And you you work online, so you share, I mean, it really, the whole point of this conversation is to get information out there, right? And make change accessible and healing accessible for people. And so I love it. Tell me a little bit about you. You have the puzzle method,
Yes.
which clearly came from all of this learning and doing. Tell me a little bit about your approach.
Sure. So the hormone puzzle was developed out of my own personal frustration with feeling very out of control during my fertility journey. A lot of things were happening to me. And I thought, well, what could I control? Well, I can control my foundational pieces of health, which is what the hormone puzzle is today. And this is the things that we have in our own environment. So this is our proper whole food nutrition, our really understanding supplements and taking the right supplements. It's working on stress and really zapping that stress and not necessarily eliminating, but putting things in our life to balance our nervous system.
Yeah.
Yes. It's working on our sleep, focusing on good, high quality sleep hygiene. It's bringing in love and encouragement into our own, with our own self and with the people that we surround ourselves with. And then it's looking at our exercise in our environment, our internal environment, our mental and emotional health, but then also our external environment, our toxin exposure and how we're detoxing and eliminating, and then bringing in movement and exercise in our daily lives. And so it's all these pieces that form that foundational piece of health. And so that's where I started myself. And this is where I start all my patients with. But then it's also, once we have those foundations in place, looking a little deeper and bringing in, okay, well, what are the blocks to this fertility issue? What's causing this puzzle to be out of alignment? And that's when I bring in more functional testing and looking at how are we detoxing? How are we what does our hormones look like? What is our gut health, our immune system? All of these pieces to really identify the root cause of the issue. So it's bringing those two things together. And once we figure this out, so we make a beautiful picture of health and we solve our puzzle.
Yeah, I love that. And you can't, I know we've all been raised in this kind of quick fix, it's one thing, it's, just do and for long-term health anyway, sometimes people can skirt around and just address some of those things and not all of them, and maybe get lucky enough to have a healthy baby, do whatever their short-term goal is. But I love that you really focus on the foundational and then go deeper, right? Like we do a lot of, longevity focused stuff at the clinic and which is obviously very different. You have people with a particular motivator, and my autoimmune clients obviously have very specific motivators, but even people at the clinic that they're like, well, I want to try this peptide or, this fancy shiny thing. And it's like, how are your omegas? How's your D? You can't skip over. I mean, you can, but then the other stuff isn't going to get you where you want to go. So I love that approach of foundation first. And then, because a lot of times foundation's all you need. You just need consistent, guided help with that.
Exactly. And then too, on the other side of that, I talk to some people that say, I'm doing all of these foundational pieces. Well, then that's where these other modalities come in with the peptides and the, longevity and the functional testing. But I always say you can't build your house if your foundation isn't laid. You have to do that first. And so let's make sure that piece is laid. And then we can focus on some of these other modalities. Yeah.
What's your opinion on why are fertility struggles so prevalent now? I feel like, and I know there's always this, do we just know about it more? But no, I really think with the amount of even younger women that come in, and it's not just the women, but what do you think is driving these numbers up?
Yeah, well, I think it's a couple of different things, two really prevalent things that I see most in my practice, but I completely agree with you. And I just want to reiterate that fact that you just said 1 in 6 women and couples globally are struggling with infertility, and it's getting younger and younger. And it's not because we're hearing about it more. it's because it's happening more. And reasons that I think are the biggest factors. The first is the stress. We live in the biggest stress bubble that we've ever seen in our lives, with the state of the economy and the state of the political terrain, and just everything that we're trying to do as women and couples, just that go, go, go. I think our nervous systems are on high alert. And I think it's the stress piece that we really need to take notice of and help to manage. The other piece of it is the toxin exposure. We are exposed to more toxins in our lives in 1 month than our grandparents were in their entire lives. And it's everywhere, in our water, in our food, in our products, everywhere. And so this is a big...
You don't say that to drive stress.
Oh, no. I say that to educate you on, hey, it's an issue. We need to fix that. And so I think that's another piece of it, just really learning how to work with our detox organs, help with detox, help with eliminating the toxins that we can, and just really trying to live a more non-tox life. I think once you start to identify that piece and really dive into it, it's easier than you think.
And it's a process for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I look at the chronic stress piece in physiologically as a toxin, right? Like you can't separate these things out. And so much of it is we just have to compensate. Our bodies weren't designed for modern life, whether it's, multiple stressors, all the things, right? With the inputs, and it's the same with the toxicity inputs. And you mentioned foundations. I can't believe how many adults I see that, poop twice a week.
Yeah.
And that's normal for them because they've always been, and it's like, well, we don't need to do a toxin panel. Let's start there.
Right.
Because we're not taught foundations. I mean, even I had a conversation on Monday with a new client who had come into the clinic, and she said, this is the first time anybody's ever explained my hormones and hormone balance to me.
Yeah.
And she's, somewhere between your age and my age, she's been on the planet long enough. And so I think we don't understand, like the average human adult doesn't understand like how their body should optimally work.
I completely agree. Yeah. It's the same way with cycle health. I find so many people come into the clinic as well, and they don't know how to track ovulation or what a healthy cycle should be. They think it should be painful and irregular. And so I say I want to go back to 7th grade and teach a health class and teach
all gosh. Please.
The
world needs you.
My plate.
Well, between all maybe it can just be like video and we can get it out to all the young girls because there's so much I have learned about, and I'm not picking on the gal I met with on Monday. Like it's nobody's fault. It's just, it's the system, and perhaps 100 years ago, there were conversations going on between mothers and daughters, or, this information was being passed down through the multi-generational family household, and so I love that you're out there educating people on like how their body's supposed to work, but I see, younger and younger and younger. And I agree. I totally agree with your take of, that stress and toxins. And like you said, it's not about eliminate the stress. It's we have to actively be managing. And there's almost nothing more stressful than trying to get pregnant and struggling. Right. And doctors say well, just, don't stress about it and it'll happen. It's like, what?
I know.
No.
You have to be proactive, but you also have to trust your body and put things in place that are going to help you heal, but then also trust that your body knows how to heal and you can do this. So, yeah.
And do you only work with women? Do you work with couples together? How do you address?
I work with the couple together.
Nice.
Yep. Working with both people. And I will Sometimes my men are not as apt to want to do the work, but we try to really educate our patients on it takes two to make a baby. It's 50-50. And so we both people in the coupleship to really come on board and want to heal. Yeah. And then I will say too, once the men get on board, they are on board and they're in their work. Yeah. But it's just that initial come on, we gotta do some work here. Yeah.
Well, and even that traditional approach of we won't even look at the man until we, do all these things with the wannabe mother. And it's like, but wait a minute. They have stress, they have toxins, they have hormone challenges from those toxins. Now, you can't separate it out. So I think that's great.
Yeah. And what I like to talk to my men about too, and I think this resonates a little more, is it's not just about your fertility, but it's about your overall health and vitality. And when I talk to them like that, you want to live a long, healthy life and not be sick and not be in pain. And these are the steps to get you there. But then it'll also help your fertility. And so then they're like, oh, yeah, I want to continue to play, basketball and go to work without, being tired. And so I think they can relate a little more to that.
That's great. So I kind of jumped ahead and was like, what do you think is happening? Why is this problem so big? Are there other kind of main drivers of the fertility challenges that you see in your practice? What would be the most common things that you see?
Yeah, so gut health is another piece I find a lot, and it's overlooked by conventional doctors. And a lot of times people will come in and fertility issues are their only issue. They're not having traditional gut symptoms like constipation or diarrhea or bloating. But then we are looking and we say, okay, well, this is unexplained. Let's look at the gut and see what's going on here. So that's when I'll run a stool full microbiome analysis and kind of look and see if there's anything going on in there. And a lot of times I'll find opportunistic bacteria, I'll find parasites, I'll find a lot of inflammation and leaky gut. And we know from what the research shows us that all of those pieces can impact your fertility. And so I've had patients that have come in, said they didn't have any gut issues. I had one couple that it was the male that had this crazy opportunistic fusobacteria in his gut, and it was way overgrown. And so we ended up eradicating that. We helped him to heal. He had some leaky gut going on, and they ended up getting pregnant. And we were like, that must have been the piece, because they had been trying for 3 years. And when we healed his gut, that was what we needed to do. So I would say the gut is a big piece that gets overlooked, and we need to really look at that. And then I also do the toxin testing, environmental toxins, mycotoxins, doing that piece of it. Hormones too, I'll find a lot of estrogen dominance, which I think is being driven by toxins. And then the estrogen dominance will then affect, the toxins are affecting the thyroid. So I see a lot of pieces around that, around thyroid, where maybe we have some testing on the women. We many times don't have any testing on the men. A lot of times we just have TSH, and we really need to look a little deeper. We do look deeper, and then it's the thyroid that's being compromised, and it's affecting the hormones, and then that's affecting the fertility. So yeah, I would say those are all really big pieces.
Yeah. And I bet you are helping people, you're catching, right, subclinical thyroid issues, because by the time it shows up on a TSH, you've got a thyroid problem. All of this stuff brews in the background, sometimes undetectable, sometimes just ignored or normalized, right, by the person. Again, back to the well, this is how I've always been, so this is normal.
Exactly. And I always say, if you have any symptoms that are jeopardizing your quality of life, you really shouldn't have a lot of symptoms, but especially if they're, keeping you in bed, or, making you where you can't go to work, or you can't, play with your kids, or, anything that's disrupting your life that's not normal. We need to address that. That is your body sounding an alarm, saying something is wrong, and we need to dive in deeper to that. So don't take, it's just normal. Don't take, you're just getting older. That's no.
Oh, that's inflammaging. So you mentioned, when you mentioned toxins, you specifically mentioned mycotoxins. Are you seeing a lot of that? Like, I remember, and now I'm going to really date myself, but we moved to Colorado like 22 years ago, and from South Florida. And so I remember one of the first homes that we were putting a contract on, it was a stucco home, and we wanted, to test it. And we were told, no, there's no mold in Colorado. It's so dry here. We did test it. It was not built correctly. It was moldy. We did not buy it. And since then, the story has changed. I don't think anybody would tell you there's no mold in Colorado now. We know it's not just old homes. It's not just humid places. But do you see a lot of that in your practice?
I do. And again, especially if somebody has unexplained infertility, I like to look at, ruling out the toxin piece, and mycotoxins are a big one. And I'm sure you know this, but sometimes it's not even present day exposure. It could be something that happened in childhood.
Me.
I've had a patient that she was in a brand new home. She's like, we built this house and it's not in my workplace, and we couldn't figure it out. And we ended up diving, it related back to her childhood. She had a crib in an old apartment. There was mold on the ceiling. We talked to her mom about it, and that's what we linked it to. And we ended up doing this hardcore detox with her, and she ended up getting pregnant after that. But it can be something, because sometimes people say, well, there's no mold in my environment. What do you mean we got to do a mold test? And I'm like, we got to check it, because sometimes
especially for the work you're doing, right? Like it can be, it's really not obvious. And a lot of times, and people don't realize, I mean, if you can think back to, living in an environment where there was visible black mold, okay, no brainer. But a lot of times it's behind walls, like you have no idea it's there without good testing, or you're somebody like me. I say I'm a collector. Like any toxin I have ever encountered, my body is like, ooh, we should just hold that forever. It's crazy. And I feel amazing now, but my toxin panel still looks ugly. It's so much better than it used to be. But you wouldn't know it to look at it. If you just saw what was going on today, you would be like, do you feel okay or not? And again, it can predate symptoms, whether it predated my autoimmune symptoms. It, can predate, like you said, this one was childhood, and now it was a fertility challenge. And so all of that is information that there's something going on in the body, underneath. And it's such a fine line. Like you said, the managing toxins doesn't have to be overwhelming. But in the beginning, it can feel that way. But I know that you give your clients the tools to just continue on in a healthy manner.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that you're just helping so many people, right, from all over. It is along with the stressors and the toxins, and this one of the positives of our modern times is that, we get to be having this conversation now in 2 different states, and people can find that information.
Sure. And I think one other good point I wanted to make is that's why it's so important to work with a practitioner like myself or like you. Most conventional doctors are not diving in this deep. They're not looking at toxins. They're not looking at gut health or, autoimmune conditions, hormones. So you really need somebody that's trained in how to test the right way, how to look at your health history to know if you would need to have a test, and then to read that test and help you with the protocol. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's training, right? Most primary care or even, OBGYNs, like they're not trained to be detectives in this way. Yeah. They're trained to, is this flagged on your, CBC, or, I mean, they're barely testing at that point. Yeah. Yeah. So amazing. Do you have any tips, whether it be, because I truly believe, whether it's your focus is fertility, your focus is autoimmunity, I'm a recode coach, if it's brain health, health is health, right? When the body is optimized, it will do the things you want it to do, including make a baby. Do you think that there's steps that everybody listening, whether they are trying to start a family or working on autoimmune stuff, what are some of your favorite, like everybody should be doing X?
Yes. So the first piece, whether you're trying to get pregnant or you're trying to heal from any condition or just balance your hormones, is the belief that you can. I tell all my clients and patients, you have to believe in your ability to heal or it's never going to happen. So having that positive mindset, and this is not toxic positivity, this is really that innate belief that your body is powerful and that you can heal. So that's my first tip. And then second, I would not be a nutritionist if I did not mention food. Food is energy, and food is so important to your overall healing and longevity and health. And I live by an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're eating clean, whole foods. I created something called the magic plate, where you break your plate into thirds, and at every meal you want to have a clean, grass-fed, quality protein. I like animal protein, but if you're vegan or vegetarian, I'm okay with some plant protein. We're not here to have that conversation, but I
did it another time.
Good. I always say if you're doing it for religious purposes, that's your belief, and I'm not here to change that. But if you're doing it because you think it's healthy, it's actually not healthy. We need animal proteins. Yeah. So there's that. There's my soapbox. But so magic plate, protein love.
I want to back you up a little bit because I think this is so overlooked and misunderstood. You said it, but I want to highlight. You mentioned grass-fed meat. Can you define quality protein for listeners?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people miss the mark here.
Yes. So we want organic, high quality. Grass-fed means that they are free-ranging and they're eating grass, not grains. They're not being mass-produced. If you can buy your meat from a farm, especially if it's a local to you farm, that's even better. We want to support our farmers, but we also want high quality meat for our body. So the grocery store meat, unfortunately, most of them do not meet this mark. And so really researching where your meat's coming from, I think is very important.
Yeah.
And
wild caught fish.
Yes, that as well. Yes. Wild caught fish.
We've been trained to kind of fall for the word organic, which certain things I eat have to be organic, but organic isn't always enough. You can have organic meat that's not grass fed. You can have, I joke organic makeup. Well, lead is organic. I don't want it in my makeup, right? It's not the end all be all. It is important when you know what, but don't fall for the labeling.
Exactly.
I always say
ingredients. Yeah. Read ingredients, especially if it's a product like makeup or I want you eating things that are not in a box, but if you have to get something like an almond milk or a protein bar, let's read the ingredients to make sure that it's just all clean ingredients. If you can't pronounce the ingredient, then that means you need to avoid it. And we want minimal ingredients, 1 to 2, up to maybe 5 things at the most if it's like a bar or something. And we want it to be food-based.
Yes. Yeah. I always say you want an animal that lived its life the way animals are created to live. So take that as, whether it's a pastured chicken or a grass-fed and finished cow or, it is wild to me. Growing up, my family was in the dairy business, and I wasn't old enough to ask enough. I was not this me.
Yes, I wasn't this me when I was struggling with infertility.
But just the idea that we are not we that. They are feeding animals foods that they would never eat in nature. Cows aren't designed to eat corn. Yeah. Fish isn't designed to eat. Show me somewhere in nature where fish is going to eat corn. It just doesn't. Yes, it does matter. It really does matter. That's like the one thing I'm like that little old lady. Like I always have grass-fed meat sticks in my bag. Nuts, because my protein, like I can find an organic salad somewhere, but I may not put their protein on it.
Same.
Yeah.
So important. I know I always have to tell my husband, I promise I'm fun, but once you know this, you can't unknow it. So it's like,
but
I know.
And we live in such a beautiful area here in Colorado, and there are, ranches and farms, but between like on our drive from our farm to the clinic, we pass a feedlot, and I'm like, I think all you need to do is see a feedlot, and you would never ever or smell it, and you would never eat it again.
No.
Yeah, no, it's just. I always say, like, I feel bad for the neighbors, like the ones that have been there for years.
In Melbourne.
It's not good. So belief, I love that you start there, because I say, when I was first coaching, I started with food. And, we would get to, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this backwards. Right. Everything else works so much exponentially faster and better when we get mindset first.
Yep.
And food.
Yes. And it makes your choices that much easier. You're more bought in when you believe what you're doing is actually working and it's good for you. I feel like you make better choices, and it makes it that much easier to develop these habits. So yes. And then so we'll go back to Magic Plate. So third protein, animal or plant. A third of this needs to be veggies. And I want you to get 2 to 3 different varieties every single day. We want you eating the colors of the rainbow. This is going to be how you get your vitamins, your minerals, we want you to have some cruciferous vegetables. So we're detoxing our toxins, we're detoxing our estrogens. We're really helping to optimize the detox organs. And then a third of the plate needs to be a slow burning carb. I don't want you to be afraid of carbs. This can be a sweet potato, pumpkin, squash, eggplant. Really getting something that's a starchy,
not marshmallows.
Not marshmallow. Then also within that slow burning carb, you can, if you do not have an autoimmune condition or you're not sensitive, you can do a little bit of like a gluten-free grain, a whole grain. I like some buckwheat or arrowroot or some quinoa, maybe a little brown rice, but rice is really not that nutritionally sound. So I try to steer away from rice, but a little bit of a grain if you're not sensitive or if you don't have an autoimmune condition, because grains can really affect that. And then 1 to 2 tablespoons of a healthy fat. So avocados, nuts and seeds, fatty, organic, wild caught fish, olive oil for salads, and coconut or avocado oil for cooking. You can also cook in ghee, which is a clarified butter, but really rounding out that magic plate and getting your nutrition. And along with nutrition, we have to put hydration in there. So making sure it's clean or filtered, high quality water with a little bit of electrolytes if you do reverse osmosis. So that's another big piece of that one. So that's nutrition and hydration. And then number 3, I would say, going back to that toxin piece, trying to do a really hard look at your life and the inventory of your cleaning and beauty products and saying, what can I eliminate? What have I just been sold that I don't actually need to be using? And then of the products that I love and I want to continue using, are these safe and non-toxic? Are they made from clean ingredients? Am I even making them myself? But really taking a hard look and saying, how can I live as non-toxic as possible? And again, it's not about being perfect. Nobody's 100% non-toxic, but it's really about looking at what can I do that is non-toxic, and then the things that I can't. I always say sometimes there's some non-negotiables where you're like, that's my one thing, this foundation, and this is my one thing. And so that it is what it is. And so that, yeah.
Goes directly to what I was saying about, like, if you looked at my toxin panel, it's not pretty, right?
Yeah.
But I'm below what I call my tipping point. I feel amazing. I am continuing to work on detox. I'm still doing the things, right? Reducing the exposures and supporting my body. And I had a client who, you'll get a kick out of this, because when I met, she showed up for the consult and she was a vegan. And we had a lovely consult, wonderful, wonderful woman. And I said, I am not the right person to help you. I totally believe you can heal, but you need to find somebody who knows how to do that without animal products, because I truly in my soul believe that we were designed to incorporate animal products and we need those nutrients to heal. And she was like, nope, just tell me what to eat. So she totally, and we didn't start with steak. We started with bone broth and our way up to, incorporating good proteins. And she was she did all the things. And then we got to, I said, what kind of shampoo are you using? And she said, doesn't matter. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, I'm not changing. I love my shampoo. And I was like, you know what? Have it, use it. Like, that's perfectly fine. She had her reasons. She was in love with it. And I loved, by then we had a great rapport and we'd been working together long enough. And she knew that she didn't have to be perfect. And that's where I say, create your haven in your home where you have the control so that you reduce that burden enough that out in the world, you take the hits, and continue to work on your habits and your lifestyle. But it is, so I love that it's like the food, right? It's not, because I believe, and I think relates to fertility. It's back to that stress piece. Yeah. That perfectionism is part of why somebody may be struggling with fertility, part of why they may be struggling with autoimmunity. And so we need to along with that mindset comes the grace. Yeah. Or, perfect is not how we were designed to be. So doable is so much better than perfect.
Exactly. I always say progress, not perfection. So
yes.
1% better today than we did yesterday, and then we're winning.
Yeah. And, do you have people trade out their products kind of slowly? I mean, do you have anything that you're like, if you're using this one thing, like change that right away?
Yes. Well, I would say that would be two things. And I always tell people, you can do this fast. Some people come to me and they're like, I want to heal.
They're ready.
They're ready. They throw everything away and they're like, tell me what to do. Tell me what to buy. But some people take a little bit more time and they need a little, longer to break up with these products that they've used for years. And so I always say, as you run out of products, think about how can I make a smarter choice this time? And then I give my patients resources on how they can, scan a product, see how toxic it is, see if there's a better, a comparable swap that they can do. So yeah, we go slowly with that. But there is two things where I say, we probably need to really think about these. So the first is phthalates. Anything with a fragrance, that is plastic that goes straight into your endocrine system and clogs that system and really wreaks havoc on your hormones. So if you want to do a scent, I always say if you can do essential oils, that's what I do. Do essential oils. But if you love your perfume, let's put it on our clothes. Don't put it all over your thyroid and your body and, get it in your skin. Like, use it on your clothes if you have to. For now, I would like you to get rid of it, but like, no way, then at least don't put it on your body and on your skin and on your thyroid. Don't do that. And then the other one is parabens, really looking at your body lotions and your, anything that's a thickener, conditioner, shampoo, anything with a paraben. I always say you're slathering that on your entire body if it's body lotion, and that's a really big no-no. So there's so many good paraben-free lotions. You can even make your own like I do with my tallow. So there's great ways to still have lotion and have it be non-toxic.
Yeah, I love that. And there are and you don't, the beautiful thing is you don't have to make your own.
Right.
There are more and more, things. I remember, and I was saying before we hit record, like I make my own lip balm. There are certain things that if it's easy enough and it's good, right? But I made my own laundry detergent probably 20 years ago, maybe 15. And I know there's all kinds of recipes and ways to do it. I did it one time. I didn't like it. It was hustle. And it was the part. And my were stinky and I was like, this is not good. So luckily there are, more and more companies making the clean products. Tell me your advice about greenwashing, because I do think it's kind of back to that same like, don't organic isn't everything. You already said it with food, but I think products too, people need to understand it's a big market as people become aware. And so how do you tell people? I heard you say scan, right? There are apps and resources where you can check if you're not sure.
So what greenwashing is, it just means a company can put anything on the front label. It can say organic, it can say non-toxic, it can say fragrance-free. There's not a lot of people monitoring this and regulation around what goes on the front of the bottle. So you always want to read the ingredients. The ingredients don't lie. They have to put what's in that product if it's going on your skin or in your body. So reading those ingredients, and if you see anything that you don't understand what it is, if it's not a food-based, if it has a long list of ingredients, then that's when we would say, let's skip this choice. And there are resources and apps. There's an app called Think Dirty where you can scan the barcode and it'll tell you how toxic it is. It actually rates it, and then it gives you a comparable switch. If you're like, I want to find a body lotion, I like this, but I, don't like these ingredients, then it's going to be comparable. There's also another one called what is it called? Switch Natural, where she actually was she struggled with infertility and then ended up getting pregnant. And now she's the big advocate for toxic-free living. But her app, you can scan it, and then it'll show you all the scientific research that shows why these ingredients are causing such a havoc on your hormones and on your reproductive system. So that one's really cool too.
That is really cool. I'm not familiar with that one. Thank you. And there's more and more. There's one called Yucca. Yes. And that one I was shocked. When I saw what, really expensive fancy lotion my mother was putting on her face, I was like all the things I taught you. We tried a swap that I figured she wasn't going to like. I didn't say it to her, but in my mind I was like, because it was, so affordable. She could get it on Amazon. It was easy. And she 4 days later was like, I got that new cream and I love it. No, right? And sometimes the first thing we try as a replacement isn't the right fit for us, but don't give up. It's so worth it. It really is so worth it.
Yeah. And I actually make my own serum for my skin. I use it all over my face. Oh my gosh, it is the best. I always get told I look younger than I actually am, but it's castor oil, jojoba oil, and frankincense. That's it. I just mix it up in a little tube and squirt it and rub it all over my face and my stomach. It's great for your stomach as well. And I love it. It works so well.
Wow. All right. You're going to be getting a lot of can I have that recipe? I want the big tube.
Well, I can give it right here. It's just half a cup of castor oil, half a cup of jojoba oil, and about 10 or 20 drops of frankincense. And then I just put that in a squirt bottle, like a glass amber bottle that I got off of Amazon, and just couple pumps morning and night. Slather that on.
Amazing.
Beautiful. Castor oil is such a beautiful oil. It really does a lot. And jojoba oil too is wonderful. So
that is, thank you. I'm going to be tonight, and I already have the amber glass. Oh, but I have all of those ingredients.
Oh, good. Love it. Let me know how you like it.
Yeah, I bet I'm going to love it. If that's what you're using, I am in. And we don't have moisture in the air here in Colorado, so I'm so dry that I'm sure my skin will just do a happy dance for sure.
I love it.
Amazing. So you took us through the beliefs, the food, magic plates, taking a look at your products that you're using. Any other, you've already given us so much gold, but I know that you have your kind of top things that you focus on.
So the other piece, and I know we're kind of running low on time and we could be in another hour here talking about this, but the stress piece, this is another piece where I find a lot of people get so hung up on it because it's impossible to live 100% stress-free life. It's just insane our world, but it's really about identifying what the main stressors are in your life and then saying, is this something that I have to have in my life, or can it go on the back burner, or can it be eliminated? And if so, then let's do that. But if not, I always joke, you can't get rid of your mother-in-law probably if she's a stressor, or you can't quit your job, but you can can put a boundary in place on how you let that affect you. And that comes back to working on that nervous system and really working on, these are my boundaries. These are my no's and my defense that I need to put up. So that's a big piece of it. And then I heard another practitioner say this, and I really, really loved it. But Dr. Anna Becca, I think you know her too, but she
love her.
in stress, she talks about adding in more play and more joy. Yeah.
Yep.
So stressed if you're laughing and having a joyful experience. And so I agree with that. Put in more play and joy into your life, and your stress will come down.
And it's so important. Again, it's about balance, right? So you may not eliminate the stressor, but when you're laughing, smiling, dancing, having fun, experiencing true joy, your body's releasing all of these wonderful compounds that are helping. It reduces inflammation, all the things. And so I get so sad when I ask somebody, especially a woman, what do you do for joy, or what brings you pleasure? And they just look like a deer in the headlights. Like, what? I don't know. And we sometimes start back with like, what did you love when you were a kid?
Mm-hmm.
How do we find an adult version of that? But I truly, truly believe that is such an important piece of any stress management and wellness routine. So I love that you brought that up, because it's not everybody has to meditate.
Right.
I mean, I do. I love it. But, it's find the things, and nothing tops, that the true joy connection. I think that was, one of the big challenges that started in 2020 was people felt really isolated and disconnected, and we need that. We're animals.
Yeah. And I think that's a big piece to the fertility journey too, because nothing sucks joy away faster than going through a fertility journey. And so that's a good reminder for the listeners that are experiencing fertility issues. Let's bring some joy back, reconnect with your partner, and go on a date and hold hands and do things that you love, and really experience that. And you'll be surprised how calm your nervous system is, and how you go into that parasympathetic state, and how that improves your fertility.
Absolutely. So much gold. I want to make sure that we talk about a couple things. I know you have a summit coming up that you wanted to mention, and then share with us about your upcoming book that's coming out in the spring too.
Yes. So thank you so much, Julie. This has been so fun. So we do have a summit coming up. It's our 5th annual Solving Infertility Summit, where I bring together experts from all over the world to talk about fertility, hormones, and holistic health, and how to help you heal and optimize. And so you can go to solving-infertility.com to register for free for that 5-day event. And I think I'm preemptively, so I'm not sure when this is released, but if you go to that website and it's not quite ready, we will have that very, very soon. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so that's a really big event. We usually have like 30 to 50 speakers. So it's a really big one. So yeah, definitely check that out. You can also listen to my podcast, which is the Hormone Puzzle podcast, where I've done over 400 episodes and talk about similar topics: fertility, hormones, and holistic health. And then, yes, I have a new book coming out. It's my 6th book coming out in the spring, called Solving Your Infertility Puzzle, Your Comprehensive Guide to Optimizing Your Fertility. And so this is going to talk more in details about my process, my practice. I go through all the functional lab testing. I go through all the issues that I see in my practice with fertility cases. And then you get to hear from many of my patients that had success stories and got pregnant and had healthy babies. And then I have over 175 scientific research studies showing how holistic health can help you heal. So that's going to come out in the spring. And I'm really excited.
Amazing.
It's my best work yet. So
amazing. And you're doing that while making, your own skincare products, and raising your kids, and taking care of your husband, and helping, thousands of couples.
Yes. I have the energy because I live a holistic life. So there's something to be said with all this talk.
It works. It really works.
It'll work.
And for people that just want to find you online, they're like, okay, I need to dig deeper. I want to find, more Dr. Kela. Where are the best places to find you?
Sure. So the best place is my website, and that's at hormone-puzzle-society.com. And there I have a free guidebook on fertility optimization. You can read my blog posts and learn more about my clinic and my services. I do telehealth, so I work with people all over the world. So you can just book a free call with me right on that website. And then I'm also on social. My favorite place to hang out is on Instagram, and I'm at Kela, which is Kela _health coach, or at Hormone Puzzle Method. And so those are both on Instagram. And then the other piece of my business too I wanted to touch on really fast is I also have a fertility and hormone coach certification program for practitioners who are new that want to start a business, or who are already working in the wellness space but want to add fertility and hormone care to their practice. And so you can learn more about that at fertilitycoachingmastery.com.
Amazing. And I know even through your website, you've got a link there too that'll take you over to the coach training information, which is so fantastic, because you, as many couples as you are helping, you can only help so many, but that ripple effect is also by training practitioners. So so appreciate all of the work that you're doing and putting out there to help people, because this becomes such a stressful struggle for people.
Thank you, Julie. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. You already gave us like 100. So now is your time to highlight, because I always at the end of the interview ask for one step. It's tough, but one step that listeners can take to support their wellness. So out of, or it could be something different, but what is your opportunity for a highlight?
Sure. I think that one step is highlighting that belief. Again, you can't do any of this work if you don't believe down to your core that you can and you will heal. And so every day I want you to start your day with that belief, and I want every night you to end with that belief. I can and will heal. I want you to tell yourself that, and do not deviate from that until you're actually healed and your body's optimized and it was working the way that it was designed to do. I know you can do it. I have belief in you, and I want you to have belief in yourself.
Amazing. And I know you can do it as well. So that is the perfect place to start. And again, I thank you so much. Listeners, listen to this 2 or 3 times, because there's so much in here. Take notes, listen, and then go to the website, find her on Instagram. She's got great videos. That was how I found out about her tallow product, was through watching her on Instagram. So Dr. Kela, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Julie.
For everyone listening, remember you can get the show notes and transcripts by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.